James Ernest of the Grueling Truth, here with head coach of the Lakeland Magic, Stan Heath. Coach, tell us why you're no longer the Erie Bayhawks.
Well, most of the teams in the NBA have started acquiring all the different D-League teams. At that time, D-League, now they're G-League teams. And once they acquired them, probably the kind of the mindset was, let's bring them in a little closer proximity to the parent team. That way, if you have players that are going up or down or all those different things that happen throughout the course of the NBA season, the location is closer. Plus the ownership, the management, your GMs, your scouts, they all have a lot easier flexibility to come see, watch players on other teams that are potential call-up type players. So it just, in reality, it really just made sense. Probably something that should happen a long time ago, but now that the Magic own the Lakeland team, that's really the reason why it's here.
I know what you mean. It just makes more sense to be able to just having access to your talent roster.
Absolutely.
What other places in Florida do y'all consider?
Well, I wasn't a part of those kind of conversations, so I don't know the answer to that. I think the location that was chosen at the end of the day is a terrific location. It's right in between the Orlando market, the Tampa market. Lakeland has always had just a strong presence when it came to minor league type teams, with baseball being in that area with several teams. The Tigers are right there in Lakeland. So there's a fan base that's, has a connection to minor league type sports. So at the end of the day, if it's me just looking on the outside, as I said, I was part of those, that's above me. I think it was a great situation, great location to put a team in.
What are your thoughts about the RP Funding Center?
Well, it goes with your last question. At the end of the day, you need a facility that can, accompany, 4,000 or 5,000 people, or whatever your attendance base might be, as well as, just the support that goes around it. But, one thing that's been very, very unique and special about us moving to the RP Funding Center is the fact, the commitment of the community, the RP funding themselves, as well as the Magic. They poured in between $50 and $60 million into that facility. So when our fans get that experience, they're going to have the ability to see new scoreboards. They're going to see new seating. They're going to see a new court. Our team, as well as the visiting team, will have new locker room spaces, and so it'll be a major upgrade with the RP Funding Center that not only will go well for us, but obviously the High School Association has spent their championships in that area for a long period of time, and I think the people around the state who come to those events as well too will have the same experience of the upgrades at the RP Funding Center.
Kind of probably the same thing's true with the practice facility in Winter Haven.
Yeah, and that's a work in progress right now. We're not in that yet. We're going to be practicing at Polk State in Winter Haven. Our players will actually be housed in that area as well too. So that's going to be more of a 1 to 2 year process of getting that underway. But we're excited. That'll be a very attractive piece for the Magic team, the Lakeland Magic, as well as the Orlando Magic, to attract players to want to come to the Lakeland Magic organization because we'll have top-notch facilities and practice facilities as well.
A lot of people have been saying, things dramatically changed on August 8th with, of course, your signing and Anthony Parker's. What does Anthony bring to the table as a GM?
Well, Anthony is, and I haven't known him as well as I know him now, but obviously I watched him as far as an NBA player, his different experiences with different teams. He's a terrific player. Then he's been a part of the Magic scouting organization for 6 years. And just the time I've spent with him since being hired has been incredible. I mean, he's got an NBA mind. He's been in the league. He's been on the administrative side as well, too, so he sees it both ways. He's very, his relationships with players, a lot of those guys just kind of look up to him because they know he's been through the things that they're experiencing now, and even, he's been behind where they are now and where they want to get to. But he's just a good person, good character person, hardworking guy, someone that has great, I think, just kind of vision of where we are and where we want to go in terms of our Lakeland Magic organization. So I'm excited to work with him.
Do you agree with me that the rebranding of the league is going to open up opportunities for more respect and more just advancement in the league?
Without question. We've already seen that. Already in a short term, the level of talent that now is attracted to the G League with the two-way players. And that is the two-way player. Every team has two of those guys. And that player has 45 days to spend mandatory. At the minimum, he's going to spend 45 team, whether it's practice, whether it's games, with the parent team. So we have one right now, Adrian Payne, who's a two-way player. We have another two-way player to get. But he's already been in training camp. He's going through training camp right now. And going forward, he'll have more days to spend with the Magic team. So that's an attractive piece for players that are available that, want to get an opportunity to get into the league. And, one of the prime examples is a guy, Jonathan Simmons, who now is a part of the Orlando Magic. He started off as a local player tryout guy who paid $150 for the San Antonio Spurs D-League team, made the team. Then he got a call-up, played well, actually started games for the Spurs last year, and then signed a contract to come to the Orlando Magic. So he's maybe the poster child of what that experience can be for somebody, and it has, in turn, really attracted a higher-level player to our league. The resources with the teams and the NBA has poured into this league with, all the different things that are happening, more contracts, more money, more endorsements, the scheduling, the traveling, how we do things in a better way now is really making this league a very attractive, choice if you're not in the NBA.
Very true. I mean, with expanding now up to, 26 teams?
Yes, 26 teams, and which is 4 off of the NBA, but every NBA team, we will get to the point where there's 30 teams. I mean, every NBA team wants this situation because obviously they have the ability now to have more players in their cycle to bring up and to develop and to possibly be a part of their team. And then you also have when you have the draft picks, maybe you have 2 or 3 draft picks, and those guys aren't quite ready to play, but they're a part of the team. They can come down, they get 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it may be, of experience. So now they get game ready, and they get themselves better throughout the course of the season, and they get game action compared to just being a part of, the parent team and not playing at all, but just going to practice. So you get the practice benefit and the game experience for the younger guys that are drilled into that development stage where they can get better and they can really contribute down the road.
I was going to say, I'm a bit on the selfish side. So after all the teams get their own, G League franchise, I would love to see one in either Kentucky or Southern Ohio. I think that would be great. Unfortunately, Cincinnati hasn't had a team since the Royals, and Kentucky hasn't had a team since the Colonels. So it's been a little bit.
I could see that. I don't know. Once it gets to 30, how that would work, but you never know. But I do think it's an exciting thing that's happening right now for professional basketball. And, we just a little bit of time we've had of having functions in the Lakeland area that have attracted the community. There's an excitement. I think not just with us, with some of the other teams, there's an excitement of people who are saying, hey, you know what, I would love to go to the Magic game, but if I can't get there, or maybe I still go, there's still another option to see high-level basketball games.
What do you look for in coaches on your staff?
Well, I think every situation is different. And for me, this being my first experience at the pro level, one of the things that I wanted to be a part of my staff was probably 3 big things. One, and it doesn't necessarily mean that person has all 3, but just across the board. One, I wanted someone that has been through this league because some of the rules are different. Some of the officiating is different. The timeout situations are different with the advancements, as well as we actually have a coach's challenge and things like that in this league. But also, I wanted player development is probably the biggest piece of anything. At the end of the day, we want these players to get better. We want them to improve. We want them to get call-ups. We want them to be able to make a roster. We want to be able to, be able to say, hey, listen, these guys came into our organization. They came to our G League team, and look where they are right now. So the player development side of just really developing skills and putting them in positions so they're ready to go for the NBA is important to us. And probably, the last thing I think that I was really looking for more than anything else is just having some guys that are going to work. I mean, it's a grind. I mean, it's one of those situations where we're going to be, in some different cities, different locations, different gyms, different venues, and we want to make sure that we're putting the time in necessary to be successful.
What's the your philosophy about players versus the franchises? It's probably the same, I would guess.
It's the same. It's definitely the same. Our president, Jeff Weltman, John Hammond, our general manager for the Magic, as well as Anthony Parker, we all sat in the same room, and we talked about me being a part of this organization, which I was very excited to do. We want to make sure that we're all on the same page, and we had those conversations, and the things I just spoke about, whether it was player development, whether it's just getting guys in a professional setting, a professional situation, so they're ready to make that next step. Or the other factor that I didn't mention that is really important is just having a seamless transition. If a player is playing for the Lakeland Magic and he gets called up to Coach Vogel and the Magic and they need to put him in a game, he needs to understand the terminology, the language, the plays, the sets, the schemes, all the things that Coach Vogel is, using for his team. So that player is comfortable. He knows what he's doing. He's in an environment he's comfortable with. So, that seamless transition means I have to have familiarity with what Coach Vogel is doing. So I've been in training camp. I've been at all their practices. I watch film. I watch all those things. So we're as close as possible to making sure that player is familiar with what's going on with the Orlando Magic.
Tell us about the open tryouts. How many players were you excited about?
Well, it was interesting because initially we tried to have maybe one session, and we were expecting maybe 70 or 80 people, but as the numbers kept climbing, and we realized we were going to have 100 plus, and the number ended up somewhere around 140, 150. We realized we needed to break it up into two sessions. So we had a morning session, an afternoon session. We had 70-some players in the first session, and maybe 65 or so players in the second. And there were some talented guys, some very familiar faces, some guys that actually I coached in college, some guys that I coached against in college, some guys that I was aware of when they were in high school that ended up being some very talented players at other locations, and there were some really good players in the mix. And as I mentioned to the guys who came to tryouts when we were all done, unfortunately it's a business, and we have to decide 3 to 4 guys that we're going to bring into our training camp from this group, and we're going to have to make some decisions who those guys are. And unfortunately, some of you who have done very, very well, you might get that not get a call, and maybe the reason is not necessarily are you good enough or how you played. It might just be, hey, we don't need another point guard, we don't need another center, whatever it may be. So we had to have those kind of conversations, which aren't easy. And then we did decide on 3 to 4 guys that are going to come to tryouts, which we'll announce at a later date. But the tryouts were, we put the guys through some grueling things. We want to see, just kind of evaluate them on their ability to shoot, the ability to make decisions out there on the court, the ability to compete at a high level against other players, and just kind of test, just kind of where they are in terms of talent level. So in a short amount of time, hopefully we got it right. Not 100% that happened, but we did the best job we could to maybe identify the guys that could best come to our training camp and possibly make our team.
With your current roster, do you feel that you have any leaders in particular that are going to step out or step up?
Yeah, we have some guys under contract, and we also have some guys that are in training camp right now that could be a part of our team. We're not, nothing's been finalized, but as I mentioned before, Adrian Payne is a very talented player. That's a two-way contracted player. Troy Copain is signed to of which way it could go. But last year he did play for the Erie Bayhawks, which was, kind of partly affiliated with the Orlando Magic. And, he's been an incredible leader throughout his career at Michigan State as well as in the D-League, which is now the G-League. So there's some guys that fit that role. There's a couple of players that we have their rights to that we expect them to come back, but we're not for sure, that are older guys or maybe at the 27, 28-year-old mark, but have played in this league that know kind of their way around the league. So there's several guys that kind of fit into what you just asked me. And the one thing that I've learned, as I've really been working with and just watching, observing some of these players that are now either G League players or NBA players, they're there for a reason. I mean, these are some of the elite guys from their college basketball teams. Now, maybe they didn't make the NBA team, maybe they weren't first-team All-American, but they were, for the most part, all-league players. They were the captains of their college team. They were high scorers and high-productive players in college. So, these are guys that are actually, not only just talented, but were probably in that leadership role. So you get a good, dose of players that kind of fit that mold: talent, leadership, very hungry to make it. And we look for that, and we look for high character guys as well too. So I'm very fortunate that that's kind of the guys that we, for the most part, the 5 or 6, 7 guys that we have on the contract that fit that description that you just gave me.
And I agree with you 100% about Troy Copain. We were lucky enough to cover him this last season at UC, and yeah, they had a phenomenal team going there under him, and he definitely stepped up and was a heck of a leader for Mick Cronin.
Right. Okay, good. No, I totally agree. He's been here. He's been a part of the camp, and he's a guy that I spent a lot of time with, working him out on a daily basis. And I can see why Cincinnati was successful with Coach Cronin, and I know Troy was a big reason why. And one of the things that really I'm impressed with him is his willingness to sacrifice different parts of his game for the greatest success of the team. And I think that's a special quality that a lot of guys don't have. They'll sacrifice in scoring and shooting, knowing that, hey, getting other guys involved helps you win more games.
Before you go, I want to ask you about the upcoming event on Saturday, October 7th. Are you going to be at it?
Yes, the ribbon cutting?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I will be there. I'm looking forward to that. Very excited.
So what's all that entail? Is there, are they going to be picking out seats? Are they going to be able to meet players? What's all going on?
Well, I know we're going to make it a festive event. Shelley Wilkes, our president for our Lakeland Magic team, has set the agenda, and I don't know all the details. I know I will be there. I'll be a part of the ribbon cutting ceremony. I also know that there'll probably be a little bit of kind of a hospitality meet and greet, and then probably some food. I'm hoping some food, so that'll be very attractive to a lot of people. But I think it's going to be a great event. Some of the things that are going on with the RP Funding Center, I think some of our fans, people who are following us that will come to that ribbon cutting will surely want to see some of the new things that are happening at the facility.
Excellent. Thank you, Coach. It's been great learning about you and learning about the new Lakeland Magic.
Thanks so much for having me on.
My pleasure.